Namaste. I, Anuradha Sharda, would like to thank all of you for liking my videos, watching the videos, writing in your comments and suggestions. It's time for retrograde planets. And two major planets in the skies, Saturn and Jupiter, are retrograding. So it is natural that all of us feel and would like to know how these planets are going to affect us. Before we move on to these retrograding planets in specific detail, let us talk about retrograding transits. When planets and transits retrograde, they actually seem to retrograde, but when they seem to retrograde, it is a very important phase. You and me would like to go to sleep after a long day, and we need to recharge, we need to recalculate all that we have done in the day, we need to rethink, we need to rejuvenate, we need to reaffirm certain facts and beliefs. So the being the very part of retrograde planets, this part becomes very essential for us. This is the time when rethinking a few things, recharging few things, readjusting a few things are essential in our lives. Hibernation is also a good word that we can give to these planets when they go retrograde. But generally people feel that you should not be doing, and which is very correct, during the period of retrograde we should not be working on new projects. But during the period of retrograde, we really need to take up those certain projects that we have missed out certain things on, and then start working on them. How do we define which projects to take up? Well, it's a very good point that we need to work on. The place that the planet is retrograding, say for now, Saturn and Jupiter are retrograding in the 10th house of the natural zodiac. So that Capricorn sign, for wherever it falls for you in the chart, be it the 10th house or be it the 5th house or be it the 8th house, that place needs to be thought on very specifically, and the places where it throws its aspects, those places are supposed to be looked on and to be worked on. In addition, if there is a planet it is aspecting, then you need to be very careful about what it is aspecting, which planet it is aspecting, and how does it work in our chart. With regards to that planet, there would be certain things that we can work on. There are certain things that are left unsaid or undone, and those areas could need certain amount of working. In case of Saturn, because the Karakatvas of Saturn is about hard work, Karakatvas of Saturn is administrative powers, Karakatvas of Saturn again being a pain and then loss, all these things, we can regroup these things on that level. Jupiter is all about ideas. Jupiter is all about learning. Jupiter is again about magnanimity. It's about being ethical. It's about being fair. It's about being wise about certain matters. So the houses that Jupiter and the planets that Jupiter throws its retrograde aspect on, these houses and these planets can be worked upon great detail. Second, let us move on to stationary planets. When planets are stationary, they give us a huge amount of energy because they will be throwing their total aspect on a particular degree for a long time, and they would be igniting that degree of the zodiac to work really in our favor. When you are taking a car in slow motion, very slowly, you have the ability to watch the scenario outside, the scenic beauty outside of your window in great detail and very patiently and carefully. That is exactly what the planet is doing. So if this retrograde stationary planet which is going into a retrograde mode, if this is aspecting any one planet or any sign at a particular degree, where you do have a planet which is either transiting, or you have a planet which is there in your natal chart, be very specific that you do some work regarding that, and it will help you in great detail. Let me be very honest, it's both the major planets, Saturn and Jupiter, which are retrograding. They give you a definite high, provided you're willing to put in a great deal of labor. And if somebody thinks that during this retrograde phase, if we don't work on certain aspects, it's all right, we will start a new endeavor as soon as the retrograde period is over. There's nothing wrong with it, but you would have missed out on the chance to do a proper job for yourself and with respect to these planets, so that when the time comes to reap its benefits somewhere around September, when these planets go direct, you would have missed it in great deal. So let us start with the retrograding planets, Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn and Jupiter both at the moment are placed in the sign of Capricorn. Jupiter would retrograde to the extent that it would go back to Sagittarius and then go direct in September. Jupiter would be entering Sagittarius on 5th July. So for nearly 2 months, Jupiter and Saturn would be together, retrograding a very strong sign. July and August, Jupiter would be retrograding in Sagittarius. So we will be covering the phase where both these planets are retrograding together, that is till July. And after that, we will most probably make another video where we have these two planets retrograding in different houses and covering different spectrum altogether. So when these 2 months are very, very favorable for all of us, because when these retrograding planets throw their lights together, there's massive work and great deal of opportunity that can be explored. First, let us talk about Saturn. Saturn with its third aspect will be aspecting Pisces, with its seventh aspect aspecting Cancer, and 10th aspect would be aspecting Libra. Jupiter with its fifth aspect would be aspecting the sign of Taurus. 7th would be seeing its sign of exaltation, that is Cancer, and by its 9th aspect would be seeing the sign of Virgo. So there are 6 signs that these two planets in total would be covering in the zodiac. And there's so much areas of your life that can be improvised or improved upon. You really do need to sit down, take stock what you can and what you should do. So let us talk about the Aries Lagna to begin with. For the Aries Lagna, Jupiter aspects the 2nd house, Jupiter aspects the 6th house, and it also aspects the 4th house. Saturn aspects the 3rd house, Saturn aspects the 4th house, and Saturn aspects the 7th house. So when we check these things out together, we see that the home front would require a major, your emotions, your relationships with your mother and family members come into the forefront. Your areas that need a lot of recognition or a lot of restructuration could be your health issues. It could also be the areas about your business and the money that you get from it, because essentially this is happening in the 10th house for you. So these areas of life could need a lot of restructurization. You could expand on your health habits. You could expand on thinking how you would need to bring in the right kind of diet for yourself so that you don't need to visit hospitals. You can do a lot of charity, or you can, if you have a huge charity fund, you can learn how to work on that charity, and you can also curb your expenses, because Saturn aspecting the house of expenses would be giving you the ability to curb your expenses. Also, Jupiter could be giving you new ideas about work. It could be giving you new ideas to generate income. You could understand those ideas and you could start making plans, so that this aspecting Saturn on your 7th house, you could be talking with your business partners, and you can then come up with a new plan that you can implement after the 29th of September once Saturn goes direct. For the Taurus Lagna, Jupiter aspects the Lagna, Jupiter aspects the 5th house, and Jupiter aspects the 3rd house, and it is placed in the 9th house now. For the Saturn, it is aspecting your 11th house of gains, it aspects your 3rd house along with Jupiter, and it also aspects your 6th house. So this Jupiter gives you an ability to bring about an expansion in your own thought process, so that you can also work on certain legal issues. You could also be working on certain issues, that is learning about the occult, or you could also do a lot of self-analysis, because the 9th house is all about trying to understand the truth. Jupiter also gives you an opportunity to rethink what kind of mantras you have been doing, and it also gives you an ability to understand your children, try to see what more you can learn, teach them, and then bring about a change in your and their behaviors. Saturn at the same time gives you an idea how to increase or decrease your or how to restructure your finances and your long-term incomes, your basic fundamental incomes, and it also aspects your 3rd house. When both these planets are aspecting your 3rd house, it makes you take a good look at your own thought process. It gives you an opportunity to rethink and rearrange your creative abilities to the maximum profit, and it also gives you an ability to understand the kind of people you want in your life and what is the behavior that you are taking with your siblings, etc. So these are the things that come under the radar for this retrograding Saturn and Jupiter, and you can work on these areas. It is all about bringing a change. When Jupiter is aspecting the Lagna and the 3rd house and the 5th house, it's about bringing certain fundamental changes, because it is your Dharma Trikona that is under the question here, which can have certain issues that you would like to work on. When Jupiter, for the Lagna, which is Gemini, Jupiter is aspecting your 12th house, it is aspecting your 4th house, it is also aspecting your 2nd house, and it is sitting in your 8th house. And this Saturn is aspecting your 10th house, it aspects your 2nd house, and it also aspects your 5th house. So being in the 8th house, there is a huge amount of change and transformation in your life that you can bring in, and probably it is in your way with respect to finances in all probability, because and your profession could be undergoing a great deal of change. It would be advised for you to sit down and write it all down for you, so that you understand, you get a clearer picture, and you would be able to see what it is that changes that you can bring about in your profession, so that you would be able to earn a great deal more and earn the amount that you're capable of. Also, your 4th house of home is under the radar by the retrograding Jupiter. So there could be changes that you would want to make, and these changes would be more welcome, because it gives you an opportunity to make a home or a place more beautiful with out-of-box ideas that may not but are very useful for you and would be great for you on the long run. When we move on to the Cancer Lagna, we find that for the Cancer Lagna, Jupiter and Saturn both aspect your Lagna. This is a very beautiful phase when these two planets, the planet of expansion and the planet of implementation, both in their retrograde phase, are aspecting your Lagna. Jupiter is also the planet of ideas. So if you have been thinking about bringing certain fundamental changes in your own nature, in your own self, this is the best period that you can get for a long time. And these 5 months, especially these 2 months of till July the 5th, would be the time, accurate time for you to bring about a great deal of changes. Now, Jupiter for you is aspecting your 11th house, it is aspecting your 3rd house, and it is aspecting the Lagna, and it is positioned in the 7th house. Fundamentally, Saturn is aspecting your 9th house, aspecting your, it is aspecting your Lagna, it is also aspecting your 4th house. So, and both of them are placed in your 7th house, so there can be changes regarding partnerships. It could also relate to changes in your own marital life. You may be wanting to bring about certain changes in a marital life, though it may be a slightly difficult because it needs the consensus of both the partners, but you could be thinking along those lines, and it is very important that you think about bringing about certain changes in your own self. When both of these planets are aspecting your when Jupiter is aspecting your 3rd house, there could be certain things in your speech, the kind of courageous decisions that you've taken, or the way you express yourself, because again 3rd house is all about expression and creativity, and a retrograde Jupiter gives you an ability to be creative outside the box. So that could be very much a place where you could be thinking out of box, and you could be doing a lot of better things. And Saturn, when it is aspecting your 4th house, could be asking you to understand old people better, to work with them in tandem, so that you would be able to put your home on a much more secure ground. When it aspects your 9th house, it could be because Saturn is a planet that is old, and 9th house again is a could be taken as old scriptures, it could be taken as elderlies, gurus, and mentors. So you could be having association with those people, you could be working with those people, or you could be evaluating your relationship with those people. It gives you an ample time to think along those lines. As Jupiter aspects your 11th house, it could be asking you to reconsider, because it's again happening in your karma trikona. So it could be asking you to reconsider the kind of friends that you make, or your uh, restructurization of your fixed assets, or in the sense that the income that you get from your fixed assets. All these things could be something that Jupiter could be asking you to work on. We move on to the Leo Lagna. For the Leo Lagna, Jupiter aspects the 2nd house. Jupiter again aspects the 12th house along with Saturn, and Jupiter also aspects your 10th house. And Saturn in turn aspects your 8th house, aspects your 12th house, and aspects your 3rd house, and is situated in your 6th house. It's a great time for you to evaluate your change. Again, it's all about bringing about certain changes. There could be 6th house is health issues, 8th house is chronic problems that you have. So these problems could be brought down by putting in certain restrictions in your diet. Is there something that you can do about it? Think. Again, 10th house, when Jupiter aspects your 12th house again, along with Saturn and 2nd house, and being posited in the 6th, aspecting your 10th house, it is giving you enough ideas to think about your business, about money for you, which could be something that you have not done till yet and you are planning to. So sit down, think, write it down, let the picture get clearer, and then when Jupiter turns direct, it would be a good time to implement it, because then Jupiter would be in your Dharma Trikona. So it is the time to do the right thing at that time. Now, about Saturn aspecting your 12th house along with Jupiter, if there's certain amount of donations or out of a box thinking that it is because now is the time when people are being charitable, people are being their best, people want to do something for others because they want to extend themselves and feel as human to help the others. It's a good time to do that because Saturn and Jupiter, both aspecting your 12th house, gives you ample opportunity to work on such grounds. As we move on to the Virgo Lagna. For the Virgo Lagna, Jupiter and Saturn aspect the 11th house together. Jupiter aspects the Dharma Trikona, that is the first house, the ninth house, and is placed in the fifth house. And Saturn aspects the seventh house. It aspects the seventh house. It aspects the second house, the 11th house, and is placed in the fifth house. So it could be a time for Saturn to ask you to readjust certain amount of your finances. Jupiter, on the other hand, could be telling you to work on your own right, follow your gut instincts, and see how you can manage a partnership, see how you can work on your child, and also to bring about certain amount of improvisation to work with your child, because Jupiter and Saturn both sitting in the house of child for you is a good time for you to define certain relationships, work on certain relationship issues with your own child and creativity. So this is a good time for you to be writing something, also exploring the creative person within you. Again, for the Libra Lagna, Jupiter aspects the 10th house, Saturn aspects the 6th house, Saturn also aspects the Libra Lagna, and Saturn is also aspecting your 10th house with Jupiter, and it is being posited in your 4th house. Jupiter also is aspecting your 12th house, and Jupiter is also aspecting your 8th house. It's a good time for you to get involved in sadhana. It's a good time for you to think about a home which is away from home, or bring about certain different kind of attitudinal change in your home. There is a time when, because both Saturn and Jupiter are retrograde in your 4th house, they could be giving you certain fundamental and structural changes about a place that you call home. They could be asking you to rethink about your definition of home and bring in certain fresh ideas or redecorate your home whichever way you think is right. It's not just home, it is also about sentiments, it's about emotion. So it is a time when you can also think on emotional issues, you can understand how you're going to handle certain situations. This is one of the best times probably where you learn how emotional you are and how to deal with your emotional quotient. With Saturn also aspecting your 6th house and also aspecting your Lagna, there's a direct contact where Saturn says that you have to reduce certain habits, you have to let go of certain habits to be a healthy self. So you have to work those habits out. Jupiter in turn is asking you to because it is aspecting your houses of charity, houses of occult, houses of giving things to others, houses of letting go. It is asking you to observe what is it in life that you would like to sacrifice, that you could let go with a great deal of magnanimity and happiness, because a retrograde Jupiter, as per what I have understood so far, has the ability to give you joy in little things. So if you can pinpoint one or few habits that you could let go of to make others happy, that's giving up, you would go a long way in making a peaceful, sentimentally peaceful, emotionally yourself a peaceful person. For the Scorpio Lagna, Jupiter and Saturn retrograding are present posited in the 3rd house. So Jupiter aspects your 7th house, 11th house, in addition to your 9th house. Saturn aspects your 9th house, and it also aspects your 5th house, and it aspects your 12th house. So This is a time for you to regroup your contacts. Try to see which are the contacts that would give you a better understanding of life and take you ahead into a good future, because they also aspect your ninth house. Contacts that are essential for your well-being and upliftment in life, spiritual and ethical. And when Jupiter and Saturn are sitting and retrograding in your third house, it's a beautiful time for you to understand that these two planets are asking you to bring about a certain change in your creativity, to bring about a certain change in your thought process, which would also bring you a lot of partnership and your money your way, because the 11th house is also being aspected by Jupiter. When Saturn is aspecting your fifth house, there could be some change in your mantra shakti. It could also ask you to understand which mantras you are using and the reason why. It could also be asking you to change your laws, be more compassionate towards your children and your students. And as Saturn aspects your 12th house, donations that you want to make should be done ASAP. So, as we move on to the Sagittarius Lagna, for the Sagittarius Lagna, the Lagna Lord and the second Lord are retrograding together in the second house. The second house is all about finances, family, ethics. Are there certain values that would really need to be re-understood? Are there certain values that need re-evaluation and restructurization? Are there certain family ethics and certain family rules that you can loosen up, you can be compassionate about? There's certain things that you can bring a change about in a lively manner, so that the family as such is a very nice place for all of us to be in. The finances again would be very strongly need of a strong hand, because 2, 6, 10 houses in addition to the 8th house of change and transformation is being aspected by this retrograding Jupiter, and Saturn in turn is aspecting your 4th house, is aspecting your 8th house, and also aspecting your 11th house. So there's a definite need to work on your finance and professional front also, because the 11th house and the 3rd house and the 4th house of security and finance also speaks a lot of readdressal of certain issues, restructurization by Saturn with a very compassionate feeling. We are moving on to Capricorn. Yes, we are moving on to Capricorn. In the Capricorn itself, this entire things are happening, and you would find yourself sometimes on your head, you wouldn't know what side of the bed you got up from, because this is a time when your mind is in total turmoil about what you want to bring about a change in yourself. There's so many things that you want to readdress for your own self. Yes, there are a lot of changes that are going to come your way, and again there is a lot that you can change in your outlook, especially because your 12th lord and the 3rd lord is retrograding on your Lagna and your Lagna lord. So a lot of thought process could be needing change. There could be a need for you to work on them, address them properly, so that you can bring about a good change in your own self. The 7th house is about the spouse, it could be about partners, and it could be the way the world looks at you. So there is a chance for you to put in your best effort to, if you are into some work that requires PR or personal relationships, then there is a full chance for you to bring about a desired change there, because your 3rd lord of being a very vital person, being having a lot of vitality and a public charisma, could be also needing some amount of change. Jupiter is also aspecting your 5th and the 9th house. So there could be certain changes that you could be bringing about in your ethics, in the way you, again, 5th house is your PR. So there's certain things that you would be doing differently in terms of your PR. Again, if I have not mentioned it earlier, though I remember having done that, I would again bring it to your notice that all of you need to check out if there's any planet. There is a high chance, because 6 houses are being affected, being aspected. So there's a high chance that some planet for you is also as being aspected. Check out what that planet is, what it denotes in your chart, and is there an issue relating to that planet that needs certain amount of rethinking, that needs certain amount of readdressal, and work accordingly. A good time, especially till July, because you would have the ability to rethink, restructure, and when these planets go direct, especially if it's on a public platform, go ahead and make the changes. You're ready for it. When we're talking about the we're talking about the Aquarius Lagna. This is happening in your 12th house. The entire retrogradation for the 1 month 20 days is happening in your 12th house, as Jupiter aspecting your 6th house, also your 8th and your 4th houses. So these are the houses of learning to let go. These are the houses where you learn a lot of emotional energy is contained. These are also the houses where a person is being very, very wise, and yet very, very saintly. The person is being spiritual. So if there is any spiritual quotient of yours that needs working on, please work on that. These are the houses of occult. So if you're doing any occult studies, you have stopped any occult study that you would like to again regain, pick it up again, then this is the best time, because you have the ability. You will also be getting the circumstances where you could be able to put in great deal of studies. This is again, Saturn aspects your 2nd house. Saturn also aspects your 9th house, in addition to aspecting your 6th house. 6 and 12 again is all about health issues, and you need to see what you can cut off from your system so that your system works beautifully. While aspecting your 2nd house and your 9th house, there can be certain values which have lost their meaning, or which are no longer applicable. Let go of them very peacefully and gently, so that the family and the elders, youngers and the elders in the family, have a better life. Finally, we move on to the Pisces Lagna. For the Pisces Lagna, this entire retrogradation is happening in the 11th house, with Saturn aspecting the Lagna itself, and Saturn is also aspecting your 5th house. Saturn is also aspecting your 8th house, and it is already being posited in the 11th house. Jupiter aspects your 5th house, Jupiter aspects your 3rd house, and Jupiter also aspects your 7th house, being placed in the 11th house. So it is all about your self, it is all about your partner, and the importance that your partner plays in your life. You need to work on certain issues with your partner, be good friends, see what kind of relation you would want to have with your partner, and work on those issues, so that on a later run you are very, very happy, especially when Jupiter would enter the 11th house again somewhere in December. Saturn, on the other hand, is telling you it's time to lose certain amount of weight, and it is also the time to take good care of your health. Your change and transformation is important. You need to work out what kind of change and transformation is important for you. As I said, the health issue, the weight issues could be an issue with you, because Pisces is a water sign. So weight issues could be issues with you. And once you have seen these things about health, about the changes that you want to bring in your life, and Jupiter and Saturn working with you, you will have a good period ahead. But it is very, very important for all of us to understand that the 2 months that we have for us, ahead of us, is a time when we need to restructure stuff. It's not the time that when we can bear, like a bear can go off hibernation and get up again later and say that yes, we are ready to go roaring. No, this is the time when we are working inwards. We are turning from a caterpillar, creating a cocoon, and it's time to turn into a butterfly. So when the time to move out of the shell comes, out of the cocoon comes, we are ready to soar the skies, conquer the planet, and look beautiful in our own selves. This is what retrograde for all the 12 signs is. And now let me talk about the double transit principle. Whenever Saturn and Jupiter throw their aspect together in a particular house, this house is highly energized, is highly working very much for us. Now is the time when Cancer is the house, when it is working for at a great deal for all of us, and retrograde energy on Cancer for all of us would do us a great good, because it is essentially the house of emotion. Essentially, it is the time when we would be when we want to be safe and secure. It is a time when all of us need to think differently. Again, a retrograde planet makes us think differently. So think on different manner how you can secure your emotions and your home for a long time. Work on it, implement it, and as I always say, stay safe, stay happy. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel or watch the videos, and please do write in your comments. We always wait for it. Thank you so much.